Hello, and welcome to Truth Talk, the podcast where we discuss how using the power of hypnosis can help us find congruence between the mind, the body, and the spirit as we explore the mind's potential and the intersection of psychology and spirituality on our quest for inner peace. I'm your host, Lindsay, a certified clinical hypnotherapist. Welcome to Breathe Easy. Mastering your calm with grounding techniques. Your guide to finding peace in the chaos of everyday life. I'm your host, Lindsay, your certified clinical hypnotherapist. And together, in this episode of Truth Talk, we'll explore simple strategies to manage stress and anchor ourselves in the present moment. Now, in order to do all of that, I suppose the first thing we have to do is gain an understanding on anxiety and its impact. We should probably discuss what anxiety is and how it affects the body and the mind, right? And perhaps it might help us to gain a mutual understanding about the fight or flight response and the role that the parasympathetic nervous system and what it does in relaxation. So, to assist me in doing that, we'll be bringing in all four elements: winter, spring, summer, and fall, and all the weather that goes along with it. So with that being said, I feel it necessary to say that if you are in any way triggered by lightning or thunder or rain or water or waves or anything that Mother Nature has naturally created, then you might want to stop listening to this podcast now and maybe turn on the Rolling Stones or something like that. Anxiety is like a storm in the mind, disrupting our inner peace and leaving us feeling unmoored. Today, we'll learn how to weather this storm with the power of breath and grounding techniques. Now, imagine, if you will, a vast ocean within the mind. Its surface, a mirror, reflecting the serene sky above. This is the sea of tranquility where thoughts drift like gentle waves, and the breeze of contentment whispers through the sails of our consciousness. But sometimes, in the distance, a storm brews. It begins as a whisper, doesn't it? A subtle shift in the wind, a faint rumble beyond the horizon. Anxiety, like an impending tempest, sends ripples across the calm waters, disturbing the once peaceful reflection. With each worry, the clouds gather, dark and heavy. The wind picks up, carrying with it the scent of rain, the tang of electricity. The storm of anxiety approaches, and the mind's ocean, once clear and still, becomes turbulent. Lightning flashes, thoughts racing with blinding speed, illuminating fears and doubts in stark relief. The thunder rolls, a cacophony of worries that echo in the depths of the soul, shaking the foundations of our inner peace. The rain falls, a deluge of relentless thoughts, soaking the senses, overwhelming the spirit. The taste of salt on the lips, the ocean's tears mingling with our own. As the storm rages on, and yet, amidst the chaos, there is a center, a quiet eye where the storm cannot reach. It is here, in the heart of stillness, that we With each deep, diaphragmatic breath, we drop a line into the depths, seeking the solid ground beneath the rolling waves. Now, take in a deep and slow breath. In through your nose, fill up your belly, your rib cage, your chest, and now exhale slowly through your mouth. Let your chest go down, and your rib cage go down, and then your belly go flat. We hold fast to our grounding techniques, our lifelines in the tempest. With each mindful practice, we steady the ship of our mind, battening down the hatches, securing the rigging, preparing to weather the storm. The storm of anxiety may rage, but we are not adrift. No, we are the captains of our souls, navigating through the gale with resilience and strength. For every storm passes, and in its wake, the sea of tranquility awaits, ready to reflect the sky's infinite calm once more. So let us breathe. Let us ground ourselves. And let us sail forth into the calm that follows the storm. Knowing that peace is not the absence of turmoil, but the mastery of it. Now, if you want, let this allegory serve as a reminder that anxiety, like any storm, is transient. With the right techniques and a steadfast spirit, we can find our way back to peace. These techniques can be practiced anywhere and at any time. They are especially helpful when you feel your anxiety levels rising or when you're experiencing a panic attack. By focusing on the present and engaging your senses, just like we just did, you can reduce the intensity of your anxiety and regain your sense of control. Now, would you like to explore any of these techniques I discussed earlier in a little bit more detail and maybe learn about a couple other ways to manage anxiety? All right, I'll assume since you're still listening, you said yes. So that brings us to the power of breath, doesn't it? Now, I'm going to introduce to you a little bit more about diaphragmatic breathing, its benefits, and its physiological impact on reducing anxiety. And I'll try to guide you through a live diaphragmatic breathing exercise to encourage a little bit more audience participation. Now, let's dive into that diaphragmatic breathing, a practice that invites calm by engaging our body's natural relaxation response. Join me as we breathe deeply, expanding our bellies like sails catching the wind. And exhale slowly, releasing the tension that binds us. Diaphragmatic breathing, also known as belly breathing, is a technique that can be particularly beneficial for individuals experiencing anxiety. It involves deep breathing through the diaphragm, a large muscle located at the base of the lungs. Now I'm going to try to give you a step-by-step guide on how to practice diaphragmatic breathing. So by now, I'm hoping that 1, you find a comfortable position. You can start by lying down on your back or sitting in a comfortable chair. Relax your shoulders and put one hand on your chest and the other on your belly. Number 2, inhale slowly. Breathe in slowly through your nose, ensuring that the hand on your belly rises higher than the one on your chest. This indicates that the diaphragm is pulling air into the bases of your lungs. Number 3, Hold and exhale. After filling your lungs with air, hold your breath for a brief moment. Then, exhale slowly through the pursed lips, like you're blowing out candles on your birthday cake from when you were a child, or any other time that you remember blowing out candles. Feeling the hand on your belly lower. Number 4, repeat. Continue this pattern of deep, slow breathing for several minutes now. With each breath, you should feel more and more relaxed, as this technique helps to stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, which promotes a state of relaxation. Now that you're in this relaxed state, you'll be able to better understand the benefits of diaphragmatic breathing for anxiety, which include but are not limited to reducing stress. It triggers a relaxation response within you, reducing the body's overall stress levels, improving oxygen exchange. Your deep breaths improve oxygen exchange and increase the amount of oxygen entering your bloodstream, lowering heart rate and blood pressure. It can help you lower your heart rate and blood pressure, which are often elevated during anxiety. Enhancing lung function. Regular practice, can strengthen the diaphragm muscle and improve lung capacity. Now, it's important to note that while diaphragmatic breathing is a powerful tool for managing anxiety, it should not be relied upon as the sole treatment for anxiety disorders. It's best used in conjunction with other therapies under the guidance of your healthcare professional, especially for those of you with chronic anxiety or other respiratory conditions. Integrating diaphragmatic breathing into your daily routine can be a simple yet effective way to manage your anxiety. Now, here's a couple of tips on how to make it a part of your life. Your morning routine, you can begin your day with a few minutes of diaphragmatic breathing. This can help you wake up, improve your focus, and set a positive intention and tone for your day. During the stressful moments, whenever you feel stress creeping in, pause and take a few deep and slow breaths. This can quickly help to calm your nervous system and before bed. Practice diaphragmatic breathing before you go to sleep to promote relaxation and a deeper, more restful sleep. And during exercise, incorporate diaphragmatic breathing into your workouts, whether it's at the gym or during yoga, to increase oxygen flow to your muscles. So as you see, allegories are a powerful way to convey complex emotions and mental states through more tangible narratives or symbols. I'll give you a few more allegorical representations to help you that can be used for various emotions or mental states. As we continue to travel through the jungle of the subconscious mind. In one session, I discussed with someone their perspective of depression as a cave. A person might be depicted as lost in the dark, deep cave, representing the isolation and darkness of depression. The journey out of the cave symbolizes the path to recovery, which brings us to the one session with the young lady who was a dancer but wasn't happy dancing. So I explained to her to perhaps view the joy that she desired so much as a dance. I explained to her that joy can be represented by a character who dances freely, embodying the lightness and spontaneous movement that comes with happiness, which then reminds me of the young gentleman who came in with so much rage and anger that he said he felt like he just wanted to explode all over someone. And I explained to him that just think of anger as a volcano, just like a volcano that builds up pressure until it erupts. Anger can be depicted as a smoldering mountain with an eruption representing the release of pent-up emotions. Which brings to mind a young, delightful soul who came in and told me that someone had broken her heart. And I explained to her, perhaps she should look at love as a garden. I explained to her that love might be allegorized as a garden that requires constant nurturing and care in order to flourish, symbolizing the growth and maintenance required in the relationship. And after her session, she left like floating on air. I hear from her from time to time, and she says she's still floating to this very day. Which brings to mind a young man who came in very anxious. I explained to him that anxiety is like a storm, similar to the allegory I mentioned earlier. Anxiety can be seen as a storm brewing, like the one ravishing Houston right now. Brewing in the sky, with the individual caught in the middle, trying to find shelter. Which brings to mind another young soul who lost her 5-year-old daughter way too soon. And I gave her the perspective of looking at grief as a desert. I explained to her that grief could be portrayed as a vast, barren desert that one must cross, feeling the intense heat of loss, like the wind you hear blowing across the sand, as it did during Desert Storm, and in the deserts of Afghanistan where so many soldiers stood, feeling the intense heat and the seemingly endless journey to acceptance. As I explained to a young soldier who had weathered such a storm of grief, that resilience could be looked at as a tree in a storm. A tree that withstands the changing seasons and weathers the storm can represent resilience, standing tall despite adversity. But after any storm, when the clearing comes, there can be confusion. What to do now? As a young soul asked me, I asked, have you ever walked to the mall? I said, a mall sometimes is filled with confusion. Look at confusion like a maze. A person wandering through the maze with its dead ends and winding paths can symbolize the state of confusion and the search for clarity. And after the clarity comes, as I explained to one young soul, to look at hope as dawn, the first light of dawn, breaking through the darkness, can serve as an allegory for hope, signaling new beginnings and possibilities. As you roll your eyes up towards that bright sun in your mind's eye, you can hear the birds flying overhead, signaling it's the start of a new day. And since we can only take one day at a time, and that is a fact, we look at addictions as chains. The struggle with addiction can be depicted as being bound by heavy chains, with the process of recovery being akin to breaking free from these bonds. And since we're looking at chains and breaking free, imagine you taking control and ownership of that chain and it becoming a tool of empowerment for you as you repurpose that chain onto the most powerful chainsaw that your mind can ever conceive. And as it fires up, you can see it cutting through the forest of addiction and addictive substances, proving to you that you need them no longer. You're free, and your mind will be forever clear. Better understand grounding techniques to anchor your mind. After this podcast, You may want to take time to whip out a number 2. That's a pencil and a piece of paper. And jot down your own personal explanation to explain the concept of grounding and its effectiveness in managing any overwhelming emotions that you may have had. And then you may want to describe various grounding techniques, which I'll go through in just a moment, so that you can spread the word and help a friend or a neighbor weather the storm. Now, as we explore grounding techniques just a little bit more, remember these are our anchors, keeping us steadfast amidst the waves of anxiety. We'll learn in a moment from the 3-3-3 rule to the 5-4-3-2-1 method, and we'll discover how to use our senses to stay present and find our calm. Welcome back to our journey of tranquility. This segment is dedicated to grounding techniques, which are simple strategies to keep you anchored when the waves of anxiety try to pull you adrift. Now, as I said earlier, let's begin with a technique you can use anytime, anywhere. Let's call it the 3-3-3 rule. Look around you and silently name 3 things you can see. Now, close your eyes and listen for 3 sounds you can hear. Lastly, move 3 parts of your body: your fingers, your toes, your shoulders. This method brings you back to the now, a safe harbor from the storm of stress. You see, the 3-3-3 rule is a simple yet effective grounding technique used to help manage anxiety, especially when you feel overwhelmed or triggered. It's designed to help you focus on the present moment and distract you from anxious thoughts. Now, the way it works, like I said, you identify 3 objects